figure is probably really understating the number of people who are affected. So I'll move on to this interesting topic of insurance and what insurance has to say about disability. This little model is really just a simple way of showing what insurance is, and it's important to actually understand what it is so that you can understand what it can do and what it cannot do. Insurance is basically just a pooling of funds used to share the cost of a risk that might occur. It's been that way for many, many years. Sometimes I have to admit that we use it as an excuse for not participating in the payment of various types of services for conditions. That's not unique to Saudi Arabia, it's a factor around the world. But there is a real economic background to this. Basically, insurance works on the principle that there is an uncertainty. An event might occur or it might not occur. If it does occur, it could be catastrophic and there needs to be some way of dealing with it. But disability is a certain and often permanent state, and that makes insurance companies nervous. The nature of insurance is typically based on this sharing of a large risk. Commercial private insurers tend to see disability as being the responsibility of somebody else. It's commonly a social insurance issue. The funding comes either through a framework that's in place by a government, or the services are provided through charity-type organisations such as the Help Centre. But insurance, even with our attitude of only wanting to insure risk, we still have a significant role to play, and sometimes this is not understood. Health insurance has value to anybody holding a policy for the provision of acute services. An insured person, a provider of services, and the payor, or the insurance company, are the three parties to the transaction. So if a person is disabled or not disabled, if they are covered by an insurance policy and they do need acute treatment, they are entitled to it. A little bit of an insurance term here, we talk about insurable risk. It confuses and sends incorrect messages. Basically, it's a way of saying, if it is certain that something will happen, we don't want to be involved. Not necessarily the best attitude we could always have. But the Kingdom is very lucky. There is a mandatory health insurance policy in place that is called the CCHI policy. This applies to all expatriate workers in the Kingdom and their families and dependents, and it's extended to many Saudi nationals who actually also work for those companies that are required to insure their employees. But it is limited in what it is intended to do. It works extremely well for what it is intended to do, which is to provide funding for acute health services. It doesn't work well for provision of services to the disabled. So basically, the reality is that the mandatory system exists to cover predominantly the expatriate workforce and their families and dependents, some 6 million people in the Kingdom. Many KSA nationals are also covered, but it is designed only to provide that acute cover. If a disabled person develops appendicitis or tonsillitis or breaks a leg, they are certainly entitled for coverage. But it doesn't extend beyond that acute event. What can we do that actually is more positive? Well, something that health insurers are is an enormous body of knowledge. We have a vast amount of information about providers of services, about the utilisation of services, what services are required and where, the value of those services and the cost containment of those services, and more importantly about the quality of those services. So we do actually have a lot to contribute. The role of coordination is probably not the role of the insurer, but we can certainly contribute to it. In disability services, there are many services.